It's such a catchy song. I kinda like it, right? Like, for it's AI generated. I don't know if we've covered that in a few episodes, the whole Outwired intro is, but so is the music behind it. It's done, by a company called Suno, and I really wanna and maybe I'll play with it in the show, when in the background, but maybe, I wanna try to do the new Google VO3 video thing and do, like, a couple, like, people saying "Outwired" or something like that, and see what kind of neon, futuristic, cool videos we can get out of that. Because all those videos were done with Sora, like, I don't know, basically like 20 years ago in AI terms, but in January or something like that. So, how you doing, Scott?
I'm doing great.
We're missing Greg today. Like, I still can't believe this guy, man. Like, he had a phone call with us. He's like, "We're planning the whole show. We're gonna talk about the niches." Yeah, that sounds good, man. That's great. And then the next day, he's like, "By the way, I won't be on the show. I'm just going bird watching for the whole week." I'm like, did you not know this on Thursday when you were talking to us and planning the thing? Or like, I mean, if not, how does he have the flexibility to have such an impromptu, like, I'm just gonna like I don't have any client meetings, I'm gonna cancel everything, just gonna go hang out in northern Michigan for a week. I would like to have that flexibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. But he is hanging out in my area where I grew up.
It's a
So
nice area, right? So
yeah, I'm giving him some props on that. So
why did you move away if it was so nice?
mostly just career, marriage, divorce,
All the things that, life.
all the things that happen, and you end up in different places that you never thought you would. Really.
Well, look at me in Calgary. Like I mean, there's no way I would have ever told you I would have come up here, right? Like I literally, when I left my apartment, I don't know if I've told too many people this story. I had an apartment in Cleveland, Ohio. Well, obviously, I was born in Akron, Ohio. Lived there my whole life in Ohio, whatever, Akron, Cleveland. And then when I left to come up here, it was to come up here for like, I don't know, a couple weeks was my plan. Just to come up here and just get away from the whole pandemic and all that kind of stuff. And I knew Kara up here from the Canadian Camping and RV Council, who lives like 20 minutes outside of Calgary or whatever, right? So at least I knew somebody in the area, which is why it was Calgary of Canada. And then I just never went home. I literally never went home. I had just signed an apartment lease like a month before I left for a whole nother year. So I had to pay for 2 apartments for the whole year. That was fun. So that just, I think that kind of proves like where my mindset was. Like I was going to turn around and go back. And I don't remember what actually made me stay up here. I really don't. I just kept like, I was in Airbnbs at the time, but like, obviously I know why I like the area and why I like Canada and Calgary, but it's just funny how those things like you're talking about, they just work out, right? Life.
Yeah.
But then all the things that stack on top of that shit, right? All the things that happen to you because you're in Maine now, all that would never have happened. Me meeting my girlfriend and moving into this house and having this studio and like none of that stuff, right? It's so
Right.
crazy, those decisions.
Absolutely, the
Shape
path
everything.
that you end up on. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like me, I live in rural Maine, and this was kind of if I look back on it, I would be very surprised to know that I'm living in rural Maine now. So,
Yeah, but you're happy, right?
oh yeah, absolutely, I
Yeah.
love it. It's like it's great. I mean, other than when you let your dogs out, sometimes because they're hound dogs, they take off, and you end up spending part of your day traipsing
Chasing
through
them.
the woods in the mud and whatever. Thank God for GPS, by the way.
During the show. I was just looking at my phone. My Instacart person delivered birdseed. So
Awesome.
I had some birdseed delivered for because we have little like what kind of birds are they, Jessica? Do you actually know? Anyway, they're little tiny cute birds. They always nest at the top of our eave of our roof in our backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I normally have food for them, but I order anyway. What is this show about? Is it about birds? Is it about past live memorable? I don't know. Let's just
We can talk about our life
talk
stories.
about anything we want, right? Because it's our show.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the
But
benefit of having that.
the thing is like all those things happen to put us right here in this moment at this point in time.
It's true.
So,
You guys wouldn't be watching the show unless it was for all that stuff that we're talking about. So
right. You're kind of like the guy who goes down to the store to buy a pack of smokes and then comes home like 2 weeks later. So, except this time
I feel like that would be a really cool adventure, man. Like I don't know what happens to those guys who do that. I don't think I've ever. We should ask Burnout Bob that question.
I had an uncle who actually did that, really and truly did that.
But like, but because of a serious like mental issue, or because they were just partying.
Oh, just partying.
Oh, okay.
He just disappeared and would go on a 2 week bender and then or more sometimes, and he would just kind of all of a sudden he'd just show up again.
But that's because of the like. Was he an alcoholic, or I don't know if I'm prying, you can tell me.
No, he was
Yeah.
absolutely, and
As I drink
yeah.
my whiskey.
as and
It's
yeah,
interesting.
but yeah, he was. I mean, he was actually kind of a funny guy, but I mean, it was weird. He had, but he literally would do that where he would just like, I'm gonna go get a pack of cigarettes, and then just
Do you
wouldn't
think
go
that's?
back, just left.
Do you think it's and like obviously we're if you're watching the show, we are absolutely not qualified to talk about this at all. So please don't listen to anything we're saying. Do you feel that's genetic? Because like I drink like I go on and off drinking, right? Like I will drink it obviously at conferences. I drink whiskey here. I very much like to have a craft beer or two at night. Like I'll go to breweries on the weekends, stuff like that, right? But and I know this is cliche for all the people who have it's a disease, right? Alcoholism. And then maybe I just answered my own question, but just never thought of it that way. But I'm curious how it impacts some people differently than it impacts others. Like, is it genetic? Because, like, for me, I've had past girlfriends, and even my current girlfriend is like, man, you drink a lot, right? Sometimes. But, like, I can also, like, other than the show for the last, like, 3 weeks, I haven't drank anything at night because I'm on a like an intermittent fast. I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight, get more healthy, that kind of so like and I did it before, like I think last year. I just like I'll just stop drinking, quit cold turkey, and won't have it for 4 months, and it doesn't bother me. I don't miss it. Like I like the taste of it, right? But anyway, do you have any idea if it's genetic or
I could talk on this for a while. Again, people always think I have a story for everything, and I kind of do.
nice?
When I was in grad school, I worked in the Alcohol Research Center at the University of Connecticut. So,
Mhm.
um, so yeah, the studies I worked on were the genetics of alcoholism, and it very much is. It's actually a pretty interesting thing to look at just physiologically, and so there is definitely a physiological and genetic part of it. It's a combination of genetics and kind of living environment and stuff like that that contribute to
Yeah,
it.
I mean, for sure, living environment would contribute to it. I hope that one day we're able to, like, I feel like we must be close to being able to fix that with all the CRISPR and gene editing and AI stuff and things I read about creating new organs out of stem cells and 3D printing. And like, surely it's easier to swap, like, if we know what it is, and I don't know that we know what it is, but surely it would be easier to just swap an alcoholism gene out, right? You can't fix the life experiences, can't fix the other things that happen, but
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, what's one thing that happened across your desk this week?
What came across what I thought a lot about this week was, and I guess coming across my desk and would be part of it is the kind of we obviously talk about AI a lot on the show. We talk a lot about it off the show, and it's obviously a very important thing. And I think about a lot about how that impacts my work and what it will be like going forward.
Yeah.
Um, because a lot of what we do and what we, for in me personally, I've kind of positioned myself as is being able to add something to the and context to the information. So it's like yet if another tool can kind of bring that together quicker and you know tap into all those resources, it's kind of like, okay, well, it's useful. It's actually useful for me to think that that's available too. But what I think about even more, and what I thought about a lot this week, is what types of things can we do right now anyway that AI cannot, and how do we use that, not as a tool, I obviously as a business tool for me in my business as
Yeah.
well, but also to add value, to what we're doing. And I thought about some stuff and some approaches that have been that I've used extensively in the past for some other applications, but would apply here. And it's just like there's still quite a bit there. I mean, there's still a lot we can do. I think we just have to be more nimble. We have to stay on our toes, and we have to really think these things through. Um, and again, to be able to do things that still might require a little bit more of the human element in them, but leveraging the AI stuff to remove some of those tasks. And just to kind of put a bow on this topic, the example I give is when I first started in this industry, we didn't do a lot of complex analysis. We didn't have time.
Yeah.
It's like we simply didn't have time. We were literally printing out graphics, and when you're talking about cut and paste, I mean, that's what we were doing, cutting and pasting into like a booklet and making a photocopy
I
for a
miss clip
report.
art.
And so, and we migrated from there, obviously. And in the work it used to take us months to do, we now do in days. And with AI, some of that stuff we can now condense that even further. And what that frees us up is to do and explore other things. And that's kind of what it's all about. We do things now analytically that we did not do in the past because we couldn't. Or it was just too expensive. A study that's taking months to do, could, it would cost a lot of money to do that stuff. So anyway, that's kind of where my head's at the moment. I feel like there's some good stuff, some good opportunity to leverage still.
Yeah, I think this is, and I mentioned to you the Simon Sinek video or whatever that I might play later in the show if we have time, but actually it kind of segues nicely into what you're talking about, because it's some things that I've been thinking about too, both as a consequence of this podcast clip, and I've only been like, it's a 2-hour Diary of a CEO thing, right? But like I've only been, I think, 20 minutes, 30 minutes into it or something like that. I have to watch these things in bits and chunks because I have so many different things to do. But he talks a little bit about what you're talking about, like, because he's like Simon's like a big person. He can go to AI and he can say like, write this in the tone of Simon Sinek or whatever, right? And then he talks about like what is the value add for him and what is different. And I think the big thing right now is the AI is sort of, and I think this is going to change really quickly, but it is incapable of creating new ideas in the same way that you would, as Scott or as Simon or as Brian, and I think that's going to consistently be it will be able to create new ideas, but it will not be able to create new ideas in the way that you would, or I would, or Greg would, or whatever, right? Well, maybe Greg, he's bird watching. Fuck him. Anyway, but I think that's the thing. Can we watch? I want to watch a few minutes of this. Do you mind? Like, we'll pause and we'll talk about it for a second, because I think it's a different perspective on AI. Because Simon is not into AI at all, right? Like, I mean, he is, but he's not like an AI expert. He doesn't talk about AI. He's not a ChatGPT person, and that's a kind of the bubble that we're in. And so I thought this perspective was kind of interesting. Jessica, try to start it. You'll have to you'll share your tab on the restream, but try to start at about 3:25. I'm just guessing here because I don't have like it's up on my laptop, but I don't have the time code pulled up. So just you'll have to hit the camera on the board and then share it. And then like we'll jump in and out of this. We're only going to watch like 2 or 3 minutes of it maybe. And somebody like always inevitably rings my doorbell during the podcast. Just wait a second, Jessica. I'm just going to live check and see if anybody's at my door and needs me for anything. Yeah, somebody's there. Will you go down there, Jessica, and see if he needs anything? Just sign my name if it's anything. Oh, sorry. Can you hit play on this real quick before you Jessica run around all crazy? All right, hit play on that, and then we'll go. Just hit play.
Biggest forces of changes that you see happening at the moment in all of our lives that you think we should probably talk about today?
That is a big question. And I think one of the mistakes we make, and this is in general, is we like things to be very neatly organized. We like them to be black and white, yes or no, right or wrong. And as you know, the world is messier than that. It is more nuanced than that. And nothing operates in a vacuum. Everything is connected to everything, especially in a world that's filled with this rising technology called the internet and this burgeoning technology called the social media. And desires and feeling like belonging become more and more important. We're struggling to find them. Loneliness epidemic, stress epidemic, suicide epidemics. These are all feelings of disconnection, lack of control, and loneliness. And so that only exaggerates our feeling of loneliness and despair and wanting more, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you add in AI. And now those feelings of insecurity are just exaggerated like crazy, right? So now I find AI, there's an irony to AI, right? So if you go back to the 70s and 80s, right, you had the rise of robotics. And so robots are now coming into our factories, and we're able to cut employees by dramatic amounts. And we put people out on the street who they worked in a factory, their father worked in a factory, their father's father worked in a factory. Like this is what they know. And they say, but these robots are changing, they're taking our jobs. And the ruling classes and the Wall Street classes and the CEO classes, they go, yeah, I know, technology. You're gonna have to find a new skill, reskill. That's what you're gonna have to do, reskill. Okay, flash forward to AI. Here's where the irony comes in. Because the world is always, nature pours vacuum and life seeks balance at all times, right? Not always immediately, but it seeks balance at all times. It's always seeking equilibrium. Okay, so flash forward to AI. Now you hear the knowledge workers. It's the knowledge workers who are going, my job. It's the coders. It's the finance people. My job. The plumber is not worried about AI at all. The baggage handler at the airport cares zero about AI. And so maybe the right response is, it's the future, man. It's technology. Reskill, you know? Maybe become a plumber, you know? By the way, money's really good. You get to work for yourself if you want, you know? So I just find the pendulum kind of funny.
With AI, do you think it's overblown, or do you think it really is cause for concern and deeper thought?
The honest answer is, I don't know. Everybody falls on one side of the sky is not falling, chicken little, or the sky is falling and we're all going to die, right? The truth, like most things, is probably somewhere in the middle. But the real answer is I don't know, and neither does anybody else.
Yeah.
And it seems that we should have some sort of controls, because we didn't put any controls on the internet. They did put controls on the internet in China. Like, children don't have the same access to social media like kids do here. Europe has controls on the internet, and America doesn't. And we're the ones that seem to be suffering more because of the lack of controls on the internet. So I think some, and by the way, when people, talk about deregulation and no controls, I mean, they make us wear seatbelts in our cars. Yeah. There's nothing, we have speed limits, and it's for the greater good. And yeah, sure, your seatbelt's uncomfortable, but you'll get used to it. And it's fine, So I think the call for no reform is wrong. There are correct limits to keep things safe. I am fascinated by AI, both the benefits and the weaknesses of it. But it is revealing to me something more important than what other people are talking about, which is we're a results-obsessed society, right?
Yeah.
We care about output, we care about performance, we care about numbers, we care about final product more than anything, right? And when people talk about AI, they talk about its remarkable ability to write the symphony, paint the painting, write the book, write the article, solve the problem. Like it is, and by the way, the technology is incredible. I asked it only a few months ago to please take this and put it in the style of me. And it was fine. I did it with a friend of mine who's also an author, and we both did it for ourselves. We did it on each other. It was really fun. And it was fine. I don't think it was good. It gave me a good start and I could edit it. I did it recently. We both did it. It was damn near flawless. It was scary good, right? Now, AI doesn't know the thing I'm thinking about. It doesn't know that the next book I'm going to write about is friendship. It doesn't know the point of view I'm going to have on friendship. If you ask it, what would Simon Sinek say about friendship? It's going to be why this and why that, you know? So it's derivative, right? We know that. It's not original. We know that. But at the end of the day, the work is good. The symphony is good. The art is good. The article is good. The book is decent. Like, it's getting better and better and better. But here's the problem that we keep not talking about. People keep telling us that life is not about the destination. Life is about the journey. That's what we keep being told, right? But when we think about AI, we only think about the destination. We only think about the output. We never think about the input, right? I can tell you that, and you and I can both say the same thing, which is I am smarter, better at problem solving, more resourceful, better at pattern recognition, not because a book exists with my ideas in it, but because I wrote it. The excruciating pain of organizing ideas, putting them in a linear fashion, trying to put them in a way that other people can understand what I'm trying to get out of my brain, that excruciating journey is what made me grow. And sure, you can have an AI friend, and that AI friend has been trained like the best psychologist to affirm you, the best listening skills that exist. Tell me about your day. That sounds difficult. Boy, it's hard being you. Oh my God, it's so great being you. Have you, like, it's an affirmation machine built by a for-profit company that wants you to stay on. Can't neglect that. But for the fact that nobody's learning how to be a friend. It'll feel good. You'll feel like you have a friend, but you're not learning to be a friend, right? And what made you a great entrepreneur is not that the company exists, is that you built it with your hands and you've got the scars to show for it.
Yeah.
It was when things went wrong and you were forced to fix them and think that now, when problems show up, you're quick, you're smarter. You're a much smarter businessman now than you were 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Because you did it. And I think what we're forgetting is that there's something to be said for, and by the way, I'm a fan of AI. I want AI to make things, but I would hate to lose out on becoming a better version of me. And I think that to really learn to grow, and by the way, I used to have a steel trap for phone numbers. I knew everybody's phone number. And then all of a sudden my phone, my PDA, God, I don't need to memorize a phone number anymore. I don't know most of the people that I love. I don't know their phone numbers. I type their name in, right? I just have to know their name. And so my brain literally went on strike. It said, fine. You no longer have the capacity to remember phone numbers, and I can't remember phone numbers to save my life, right? So we give up certain skills or abilities because of technology regularly, right? That's fine. I don't have a problem with any of those things because whether I can remember a phone number or not will not affect my relationships, my ability to function in the world, or my ability to cope with stress. But my ability to know what to do when my friend is struggling, my ability to know what to do when I have a fight with my spouse or my partner, my ability to know what to do when my boss yells at me but I don't want to escalate it, or my employee is acting out and I don't want to escalate it or fire them. Well, how do I resolve this? I've missed out on those skills. And simply asking AI, how should I resolve this thing? It'll give you an answer and it may work and you've learned nothing, right? And so it's the difference between, it's like saying AI will provide boats for everyone, except for the time there's a storm and you don't know how to swim. And I'm okay, use the boat. Also learn to swim. So I think there's something to be said for writing your own symphony, painting your own painting, building your own business, you know,
It's so
writing
interesting.
your own book. Not for them, not for the output, for your personal growth.
Before
Okay, you can pause
I
it.
got
I lost some. See, I just dropped off. That was my internet, but I'm back now. So that was kind of the intro there. I think you saw it till I paused it, right? Till we paused it before I dropped off. But like, what do you think of that before I give my thoughts?
No, I feel like he's talking a lot about what some of the conversations we've had and kind of how I'm feeling in my own little narrow scope that I mentioned before, that it's like, yeah, there's still a lot to it. There's still a lot that we can do, and we need to do that. It's an example I would give was in graduate school in my statistics class, we actually had I know it was a long time ago, but we had plenty of software that would run the most complicated statistical techniques for you, multivariate stuff, the predictive analytics, all this kind of stuff. It was we had it, but our professor made us do a lot of stuff by hand, and we would, I mean, everybody just, it was like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And he was like, trust me, you do it. He's like, just do it and stop complaining, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So we did it, and we're like, useless exercise. We're never going to have to do that again. And he goes, and finally, after we kept going, he kept building throughout the semester. There's a certain point where you're like, oh, I actually understand this now. I understand how this works. And the reason I understand how it works is because he made us do it by hand. We saw literally where the rubber meets the road. We experienced it, like at that level. And without that, we wouldn't have had that level of understanding of what we were doing. So when you see the output that the software provided, you could look at it and instantly know what was going on in there. You knew what it was like. You can, like, to this day, I can still visualize it in my brain. I can see it, like these rows and columns of data. And in that level of understanding is how, when you see something, the output and how you interpret it is more complicated than just saying, well, this is what it is. It's like, well, that's what it is, but there's more to it. There's some supporting stuff. There's other stuff happening there. And I think that's kind of where he's going with some of this. It's like, maybe you still need to go through a little bit of the pain, I think is the way he put it, and to grow and to understand. But we have these tools that can help. Again, we had the tools to do the analysis, but we would have never understood what we were doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know where he's going because I'm only 30 minutes into the podcast on my own side. I think you just watched the first 6 or 7 minutes of it. But I think it's interesting, and I've thought a lot about this too recently. I think it's interesting how the ability for you to skip to a result, which I do all day with AI, right? And everybody has done throughout their life, whether it was AI or whether it was a computer or whether it was all of a sudden I can type on Microsoft Word or I can, whatever, right? Pull a piece of clip art out of something, that shortcuts, right? Shortcuts to the end result have always existed, have not always been AI, but have been many different things throughout the years. The ability to take that shortcut often leads, and this is just purely my opinion, again, I'm for sure not a psychologist or anyone who is authorized or accurate to speak on this. So if you're listening, don't listen to what I'm saying. Maybe it's what I want to say. Don't quote me, whatever. Yeah. But I found it interesting. The things that I tend to skip over that I don't already know. Like before the advent of ChatGPT, I knew marketing really well. I knew technology really well. I knew how to build computers. I knew how to, like, I was constantly training myself how to do things. I knew business, but nobody's ever perfect at business. I constantly grow and constantly learn and constantly evolve. Just like he said, better business person than I was yesterday, let alone 5 years ago, right? But I think that it's interesting to me the things that I do skip that I don't already know, I still retain as information, but I don't have as much of an appreciation of how I got to that knowledge as I would have had I been a consultant who did all the work of the, math problems, or like, it's not a consultant, I'm giving a bad example, right? But of the math problems to get there to become a mathematician, or the writing prose and verbs and nouns and adjectives and how they fit together to become a amazing writer or whatever, right? And so I think there's something to be said for, and there's so much to unpack here, right? But there's something to be said for that not being a bad thing, because you obviously can't have an appreciation for everything in the world. You're not interested in it, you don't have time, you don't have whatever, right? We all pick and choose what we have an appreciation for, what we like, what we do, all those kinds of things. But I think there's something to be said for the ability for you to acknowledge that that has happened, number one, that you have taken a shortcut, but also there are other people who didn't take the shortcut, took the same path, who now have AI like you do, right? And who have a completely different opinion of what AI can do for them or can't do for them, or might do to their job or might not do to their job, or might do to their career or field of study, like consulting, like you were talking about, or to me with marketing. And it would be interesting. Like, I don't know how do we close that gap, Scott? Is it even possible?
That's a great question. I don't, yeah, I honestly don't know. I mean, it's, I still feel like that there's value in doing. You know what we have to do is we have to be critical thinkers, and we have to decide what is worth knowing and what is worth doing, and as he mentioned, going through the work and the pain to do, and what isn't. To not be intellectually lazy, and to understand that there's some value. I'll use the stats example. It's like if someone comes to you and says, on this question, the difference between men and women is statistically significant. Women score statistically significantly higher on this question than men. It's like, okay, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean? What are the values? What's driving that? What's behind that? There's more to it than that. And I run into a lot of people in the business world who use software dangerously, I call it.
Yeah.
Who will run those tests, and they'll see it'll be flagged as significantly different. And it's like, yeah, but does it matter? Does it mean anything? And that, I had a boss a long time ago when I first, early in my career, that used to write on my reports, the red pen, so what? I thought I was doing some of the coolest stuff on earth. And he would write on there, so what?
Mm-hmm.
It's meaningless. He goes, it's meaningless to our business. It doesn't mean anything to what we're trying to do. He goes, it's just a kind of good to know thing. And I remember I would say, it's like, but look, it's significantly different. And he's like, again, he goes, it doesn't matter because it doesn't apply. We can't do anything about it. Anyway, obviously I could talk about this a lot, but I think that's part of it. It's understanding what's behind it. If you don't understand what's behind it, if you don't understand what got you there, you're losing that context. And as anyone who works within the industry, if you become that person who doesn't do the work where you should, and again, it's making that decision. And I hope I'm actually getting to your question and not just going all over the place here. But, and man, I probably am. But the point is, like, you have to be able to do that. You have to do that critical thinking to say, this is worth my time to do. This is worth it. You have to think, it's like playing chess. You have to think those moves ahead. You have to think about it. And that's what differentiates you. And that's where you're, again, we use these tools. They're great, but you still, again, have to do the work.
Do you feel the ability, and I have my own opinion on this, which I'll share in a second, but do you feel the ability for society as a whole to critical think has changed over the last few years? And
Yep.
and I'll use your few with statistically, like I'm saying few is in like 20 to 30, but like use your own definition.
I would say it has, and I would say that, and the reason behind that is one, in our education system we don't encourage it. As he was saying, his brain forgot how to memorize phone numbers.
Yeah,
I was kind of laughing to myself. I'm like, I'm the exact same way. I used to remember. I actually still remember people's phone numbers from when I was a kid, and it's like we've lost that, And and the thing is, do we need to use that brain capacity for that? No, we really don't. But the point is, like, we don't do critical thinking unless we kind of train our brains to do it. If we always put ourselves in situations and where we're taking again, going back to it, we're not doing the work, we're not problem solving, we're not sitting there and thinking our way through a situation, because again, our education system does a lot of teaching to the test, standardized testing, stuff like that. I think has really impacted that whole approach to education.
But it's also the pressure for an outcome, right?
Right, exactly.
It's also the pressure for, like, you need to get to the end point, you need to get to the output, and that's what impacts a lot of what we are both able to do from a time standpoint and willing to do from an investment standpoint, right? From an investment of our time standpoint. I mean, this is the second piece of my, like, I agree with you, the critical thinking. Like, I think critical thinking is a very rare skill today. I would be willing to bet that, like, probably between, like, I think, for one, I think everybody is capable of this, but I think it's like the phone numbers that got lost in school, right? Or other places. I think everybody is capable of this, so not slighting anybody. But I would bet that probably only between 5 to 10% of the global population critical think on a regular basis. Do you think it's that low, or do you think I'm crazy?
I don't think you're crazy at all. I think it's true, because we've gone away from it, and people don't have to.
Because they have, like, now the tool is AI, right? But they have the other things to give them the answers, the Googles, the social medias, the reviews, like, I don't have to think about where I want to go. I just read the review, and if it's a 4.5 star, this is me too. To be clear, I'm insulting myself sometimes, right? I'm not saying, I critical think and I appreciate it, but I don't critical think about everything. Nobody can do that. That's insane.
Oh no, you drive yourself nuts.
You drive yourself crazy, and my brain doesn't shut off. But, like, which, I'm weird like that. But also, like, I will absolutely, if I want to go out to eat somewhere or go to a brewery, I will for sure look at the Google reviews, and yes, that brewery is 4.8 stars with 100 some reviews. Sure, I'll go try that. This brewery is 4.2 stars with 500 reviews. Like, there's something wrong with you, man. Like, you're a brewery and you can't get above 4.5. People are getting drunk and don't even remember what happened at your brewery, and you can't get above 4.5 stars. There's probably something wrong with your beer, or it's just right. It's not original enough, or whatever it is. And maybe that's fair, maybe that's not fair, whatever. But so I don't really, like, I do critically think about, I guess, the star reviews and the things in the brewery, and I look at the menu, but I also, like, I don't go deep dive into that. But I think that's part of the problem. Like, I've come to this realization over the last few weeks is, and me, like, I've really trying to been pushing the AI and the evolution of my company and trying to figure out where do we go next and what do we do and how do we pivot and what does the future of marketing look like, and all the questions that you're asking yourself, right? I've been asking for 2.5 years, and my brain doesn't shut off. Like, I think yours doesn't either, probably. But, like, I've been trying to understand how clients approach this. And I'm using clients as a blanket statement. We have some clients who are great critical thinkers like us. We have some who are great critical thinkers around the campground, but aren't great critical thinkers about marketing. So this isn't like to insult any clients or anybody in the world, right? But we have some clients who I have a hard time explaining to them that the future of the game is changing. And you know this objectively. This is not an AI person telling you. You can go to Google and you can see their IO and you can see like they have an AI mode and they have AI overviews at the top, and those answers are not coming from the 1 to 10. You can go to social media and you can see the algorithms changing. You can go and see the AI that you can chat with on Facebook and Meta. You can see the smarter voice assistants. You can see all the things, right? It doesn't take somebody to really critical think. It just takes somebody to pause for a second and be like, oh, this is different, right? For them to understand that. And so we have some clients who, despite repeated explanations of the fact that things are changing, and not just saying it, but showing it, sharing articles, showing videos, explaining, trying to teach, trying to educate, trying to not dumb it down, but articulate it in a way that a professional weird geek like me would not understand, right? Or would understand, sorry. Um, and yet they won't adapt. They won't change. They won't critical think about that piece of it for themselves. And they're just stuck on the, where's my keyword report? What did you do for SEO last week for me? Those kinds of things that have been around for so long and have been ingrained in our society. Like, I mean, take the SEO thing for an example. If you've ever worked with an SEO agency, like not a marketer who does SEO, but a real SEO agency, their shtick is like they'll send you a report every week or every month with the things that they did for SEO that week or that month. Well, the truth of the matter is like my agency will do that in a week for you. But if you're going to ask me what I did for SEO last week, then you're literally asking me to slow down everything I'm doing, like these SEO agencies do, to provide you with a report on something new I've done every week in order to deliver what you want, right? So like I've tried to explain this to you and I've tried to give you a, like this is not the way the world works anymore. Like I've done all the things that you're asking me to do already. Let's move on to something else. But if you insist on seeing a report, the only way I can give you that report is to stop working as fast for you. Okay. Like at some point it's a losing battle, right? So, and you've run into this, I'm sure you have examples from the consulting side of things too. And it's not just SEO, it's everything, but it has been interesting to me to go on that journey of like, I'm really going through a fundamental change at my company from marketing to AI. I don't know what it's going to look like. Like I have an idea, but it's really fucking dangerous, man. It's really dangerous to have so many clients who, through some part of or fault of my own, don't understand because I'm the guy who should be explaining if I'm the guy who's pivoting, right? But through no fault of that or their own, have just not been able to understand and are in some ways like, I don't know, I don't want to say slowing me down, right? But in some ways have been. Does that make sense? Like I want to pivot to this new AI thing. I want to do all these reports that I know can help all the people. How you appear in ChatGPT we were working on before, AI voice, AI calls, all the things that we are working on in parallel. But because I am then pulled back into the legacy, for you, the consulting, for me, the marketing or whatever, the things that I know don't matter that I'm having trouble explaining to the clients, it's slowing down my whole business.
I feel like that's fairly common, and it's going to take a while to get people there.
But what's the trade-off, right? So this is my existential problem. What's the trade-off? Because like from my perspective, being deep into AI, I can't slow down for you to catch up. But do I owe you that? Or how do I, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question because it's part of your, the relationship you have with your clients.
Yeah, there's no one size fits all. I'm not asking you to actually answer the question.
No,
I have an answer for it, right? But
yeah, I mean, again, I'll use the old days example of when when we had software that could do stuff that was different. We could create reports that were more dynamic, and we would literally have people that would tell us, we don't want this analysis. We don't want this report to look better. They didn't say that, but we don't want this look. We want the old one. It's because they're comfortable with it, and their brains haven't made that adjustment yet to what's happening, what's new. It's here's a good example. I use this a lot on people's comfort level with what they're doing in kind of what's in front of them and how they work and what they see. Is when I growing up when I was in high school and college, I worked in factories a lot, and I would pick up shifts every once in a while at a fruit processing plant, just because my aunt was the manager there. And so I would, what I would do is the same thing over and over for a shift, and it drove me nuts. I like, but if the line would go down, I'd be ecstatic because they're like, grab a broom and go sweep the warehouse. I'm like, yes, thank you. The people who work the lines would freak out. It's like, we're not going to do that. They did not want to change what they were doing. And I don't say this as a judgment by any stretch of the imagination, because these are people, these are my friends and family, they wanted to do their job. They wanted to do it that way. They did not want to do anything different. And it happens a lot, even in the business world. I feel like people have a way of doing things and they don't want to do anything different. They're used to, they just now probably got up to understanding what SEO is, how it works, and what you've done for them. And now you're telling them we're going to do this bigger, better way of doing it. And they're like, whoa, I'm just slow down there, Chief. I still want to do, Anyway, I'm just kind of throwing that out because I've run into that a lot, and it feels.
I mean, you're 100% right. The question is like the existential issue. And again, I've solved this for my own internal company. Well, at least, like, I think I've solved it. Whether I continue growing and continue learning as I do in business and AI and all the things, right? But the existential question is like, how do you almost have to force them in the way the world is going now with AI. At least that's what I believe, right? You almost have to force them to get there. And they're doing themselves harm. Like, I think I talked last week about the client we had that was like, I like your services. I had them for a year. You designed me a good website, but also, like, I can go host my website for $13 a month. I don't need you anymore. Well, like, are you sure, guy? Like, are you really sure? Because of the SEO things that I'm doing and how speed matters and shared hosting that invites you security vulnerabilities and all the things, right? All the stuff we're doing behind the scenes for you. And so in some ways, that's a failure on me for not communicating the value prop. But on some ways, on some side, it's theirs, right? For not taking the time to critically think through what the decision is, what the decision means to them and their business for going to, like, save so much money on shared hosting. They're not even moving to a competing agency. They're just moving to shared hosting, right? I don't know. Like, I felt for a while and for a number of years since this started, right? And I've been in AI since 2020, but since 2022 with ChatGPT, I felt for a long time that it's my job to drag people kicking and screaming, but I'm not so sure that that's the correct path anymore for me. Like, education is still a big thing. I'm doing these podcasts. I'm going to send out newsletters. Regular clients who we text things to them all the time. We email them, articles that I've read, videos that I've seen, stuff like that, right? So I'm not abandoning that. But I think the place I put myself that was contingent upon I need this to happen or I can't is where it has to change, right? Like, we're at the point now where it's moving so fast that either you come with me or you don't. And if you do, maybe I'll be right. Maybe I'll be completely wrong, but at least I kind of sort of have a plan maybe for it right now, right? Or you don't come with me and then you don't realize, like, what is actually happening. You never learn whatever else. But, like, it's one of those two choices, because the middle of the road thing that I've been trying to straddle for so long is that I'm just going to kind of wait for you, and you're going to, and I don't mean to say this in a negative way, but you're going to take up my time, because I'm happy to give you that time. I'm happy to teach. I'm happy to talk. I'm happy to do whatever, right? So not negative connotation wise, but at some point that stops Insider Perks or Modern Campground as a whole from moving forward where we need to be, right? Same thing with Karen Consulting. It stops it at some point from moving forward where it needs to be because the client is like, I don't want to take advantage of this. I don't want AI to analysis. I want you to use the old template instead of the new template. Well, like 95% of people are using the new template, guy. Like, you're causing me 2 hours of extra work using the old template. So, I don't know.
We're in a big transitional phase, obviously, and it's happening fast.
So much faster. And that's the thing. It's the speed at which it's happening. It's all that. But yeah.
And you know, like I said, some of it's good, and I'm, you know, it's hard sometimes for people to not see these changes as a threat, or
Well, I see them as a threat to me.
I mean, yeah, I mean, well, to a degree, obviously, you
Yeah.
should. But you know what I mean? It's not kind of like it's kind of like as a threat, that's a given. But I'll rephrase it. You know, where is the opportunity still? Where does that lie? And that's kind of, that seems to be where we're at the moment. AI. I mean, I talk to people almost every day who don't even want to talk about it. They don't want to have anything to do with it. They're highly concerned, you know, and it's kind of like, I understand it, you know, I understand that, but you know, by the same token, it's like if you don't get on board, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah. But like, and again, I think this is the same thing to close out this discussion. I think this is the same thing as, you know, we used to tell people, there was a book, maybe it was actually by Simon Sinek, actually, that we used to hand out called Hug Your Haters. I think it was by him, that he wrote years ago. And it was about online reviews and how you respond to people and how you put themselves in their shoes and their perception, and it's a really good book. I'm definitely underselling it. But we used to hand it out at conventions and trade shows for people to get an understanding of that. And we used to tell people, it's not that, like, there's a perception out there that you get all these negative reviews and people have become more angry over the years, right? And that, I don't think that's necessary. Like, to some extent, yes, social media has influenced that behavior and all kinds of stuff. But generally speaking, like, the people who will leave you the bad review online that are just complaining about something, right? Who have no good standing, or who are just making up things, or like, I still remember we had negative reviews for a campground I won't name that called the owner a Nazi. Like,
No,
right? Like, stuff like that. Like, those people, Google reviews and Facebook reviews did not create them. Like, those people have always sucked. They sucked before social media came along, and they will suck long after. And there are people who sucked at critical thinking and who would have never critical thought anything, whether AI was there or not, right?
Right. Yep.
So it is changing behavior. It is changing society. It is changing the ability for us to shortcut to the answer. It is enabling people to do even less critical thinking than they might have done before. But I don't really think it's changing the people that much. Maybe it will long term. I don't know. And Simon argues for that in that video, like, later on. He argues, like, it's for sure, like, what happens to the ability of you, like, if you go to ChatGPT, he says this in the video, and it's the Diary of CEO. If you want to go look at it, it's a great podcast. To give him his props, we played enough of his show online. The title of the video is Simon Sinek, You're Being Lied to About AI's Real Purpose. We're teaching our kids not to be human. And some of it I agree with, some of it I disagree with, right? But he goes on to say, just later in that video, like, if you have an argument with your spouse and you go to ChatGPT and say, how can I fix this argument with my spouse? And it tells you to just apologize and be humble. And you go apologize and be humble. And your wife's like, did you get that from ChatGPT? And you're like, yes. And she's like, okay. Like, it's just, it doesn't solve the argument, right? So, like, did you learn how to solve that problem? Not really, because you might have been egotistical enough to never apologize, or you might have apologized but actually meant it had you come to the reasoning through critical thinking and understood her perception and why she thought you were wrong. And so you lost all that stuff, right? So there's a big danger in that for sure to society. But I don't know that it's actually changing the human beings we are yet. I think it might change Gen Z for sure. Sam Altman was talking about this. I mentioned this on the podcast on the MC Fireside Chats earlier. There's a big difference between how boomers and millennials are using AI to get information versus how Gen Z are. They're actually using it to make life decisions. But this is what's coming up the pipeline. They're going to make these decisions to go camping at your campground or not, or whatever else. So I lost again. I like to do my intro repeatedly. It's all a gimmick. So let's end that conversation. I want to go in, unless you have something else to add that I haven't. Okay. Let's do something funny to kind of play that. I'll play this little video. Jessica, you want to play the Cluely one? We talked about circumsetting to answers and shortcutting and like ultimately cheating, right? So there's this new company called Cluely I found. Literally, this is a company. I swear to you, this exists. This product I don't think exists for sure, but this actually exists. This company, and they have gotten like I think $5.6 million in VC funding to build a product that allows you to literally do what it says, a cheating tool for everything. So check out this video. I think you'll laugh at it, Scott.
Thank you.
So, how old did you say you were?
I'm 30 years old.
Your profile says you worked at Bananazon?
Yeah, I've been there for the past 8 years doing like senior software engineering, so like coding.
Really?
Look, I know I look a little young for my age, but I promise you, I'm 30 years old.
Okay, well, maybe you are just way older than you look.
I saw on your profile that you're like into art.
Yeah, I've been really into illustrations by Nora. I didn't expect you to be an art guy. Oh man.
Here's your glass of rosé. And
Thank you.
sorry, we couldn't verify your ID.
Oh,
so
what?
Here's a grape juice for you.
Oh, wait. I'm pretty sure there's a mistake.
I think you're way too young for me, so I'm gonna have to go.
Wait. Okay, look, listen, I know I lied about my age. I'm sorry. But the second I saw your profile and I saw the painting with the tulips, you're just like the most gorgeous girl ever, and you're such an unbelievably talented artist. Do you think you can just give me like one chance to show you I can make this work?
Can you give me some time to think about it? Are you free sometime next week?
Ooh, actually, next week I have this anime convention I gotta go to with my boys. Do you think you could do like next month, maybe?
Oh my god.
So this company literally exists. They don't have the screen, they don't have the product, right? But like this is not that much of a stretch, right? To where we might go in the future. Like you're going to have these things in your glasses, you're going to have them in everywhere, and so I don't know. Like there is a danger here to society, right?
Sure. I mean, it's pretty funny though.
Yeah.
That's
how it's gonna work, like for sure. Like if I was a 17-year-old, you better believe I would do that.
Oh, absolutely.
I would.
And I mean, let's face it, we kind of think of 15, even 20 years ago when people would go out on a date, they might Google the person that they were going out there with. This is just kind of that approach ramped up quite a bit, but it's like real-time information.
Yeah.
You can see that almost like if you think about like a job interview or almost anything. It's like, or someone wanting to book a trip, stay at the campground. Maybe they want to talk to someone on site or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you can see that happening and see them, being able to access all this information, right then and there, having that live conversation.
Well, that's the thing, and then you start to have to question of what's real and what's accurate and what's not, and like we looked at something like these products are out in the wild already with Google. We looked at Google last week at Google I/O with the Android XR platform that they're releasing. These glasses are out there. They're going to have the information in front of them, whether it's just right now walking directions or I don't know if I ever showed it on the show. There was a student he might have been a student. I think he was a student at Harvard who hacked the early Meta Ray-Ban glasses so that they would do facial recognition and walk up, and you could like walk up and it would instantly search whoever's face you were looking at and do a deep dive. And they were having conversations with strangers like, hey, I met you at this conference like 2 years ago. Really? I had no idea who you were. Right. So yeah, you got to question everything. Like we don't want to go down that rabbit hole today. You got to question everything.
Right. But
that you're seeing and knowing and feeling, and just authentic humans. There's going to be a market for authentic humans for a long time.
absolutely.
So, all right, let's pivot and do our thing that we were supposed to do. I don't know how we got in this conversation, Scott. It was your one. I didn't even give my one thing. You gave your one thing, and it took an hour, Scott.
We're an hour in, and you haven't done your one thing.
I don't even have a one thing, so we're just going to move on to our regular topic that we're supposed to talk to. So, Jessica, do you want to share my screen over here? So last week we were talking about niches, right? And we were talking about, I think, mostly overlanders and what else were we talking about?
Like overlanders, fly fishing people, birders, people that have, off-roaders, ATVers kind of thing, and kind of what that meant and what that meant for a campground based on, a group of people who don't necessarily fit a specific persona, but have specific interests, a different set of interests and needs. So when they're at a campground, which, I still love this topic. Obviously.
Yeah, I think this is, and we're going to go through a few of these, maybe more than a few real quick. We'll skim through some of the stuff, right? But I think I would love for you to recap why you feel this is important for the people who may not have tuned in last week. But from my perspective, the missed opportunity of saying, I want to build an RV park for RVers, or I want to build an RV park for long term, or I want to build an RV park for short term, or I want to build an RV park for people from X city is huge. And especially as we go into what I keep saying, what may or may not be a down economy. Who knows? Did you see the consumer confidence survey that came out that everybody's like, oh, the China tariffs are off now. Everything's wonderful. And it like jumped a bunch of I don't know if I believe any of this government stuff anymore, but that's probably for the conspiracy podcast. We should start separately.
But I think the rationale behind this is what I would say is if you think about how market segmentation is done or how a persona is developed. In many cases, the approach is fairly simple or simplistic. They don't really take into account all the different areas that comprise who a guest is. And each guest who shows up has with them a set of different characteristics. Who are they demographically? Age, gender, family status, income, blah, blah, blah. They also have a history. Like, what have they done in the past? What are their behaviors and especially how those behaviors fit into your category? What are their attitudes? What do they believe in? What do they feel? What are their what's their belief system? All these things. And, what is their intent? So there's all these things all come together to kind of form who that person is. And what happens all too often is that all that's really considered is that person arriving in a tent or an RV, and if in an RV, what kind? Maybe how many people are in their group. It's not taken beyond that. So why I really like this exercise that we've been doing is we're saying maybe it doesn't necessarily, what they arrive in is part of the equation, but it's not all of it. It's just maybe an equal part of whether someone who arrives as maybe they're part of a group of overlanders, as we discussed.
Yep.
That What they're staying in at your campground is probably less important than what you're offering them while they're there, because of what they want to do and what they want to participate in. Same for the fly fishing people, the birders, the off-roaders. It's like, so their demographics aren't necessarily the most important thing. I mean, it enters the equation. But if you're not thinking about what these people are doing and what they want to do, and we're just talking about a couple different groups here, everyone's going to arrive with a different set of interests too. So the fact is, what we're looking at is what do they arrive at your campground wanting to do, and wanting, and again, what is their background and what are their interests? And that's why I think this goes beyond, the whole, as you said, like, I just want RVers here. I want people to arrive in the Class A motorhome. That's my target. It's like, no. It's way beyond that.
So why do they do this though? Like so I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm the campground owner. I'm like, well, like, one, I don't really have a deep understanding of marketing. Okay. So I'm either not doing any marketing, or I'm just on social media because that's what the kids tell me to be. Or maybe I'm working with a marketing agency, right? But I still don't have a grasp of what all that is, or the marketing agency really doesn't give me the guidance or talk to me the way I should, or educate me the way I need to be educated. And so why do I do this, Scott? Like, if I can just call up a marketing agency like Brian or whatever else and say, get me RVers, and they'll just run an ad campaign for me for RV Park San Antonio, and like RVers will just maybe show up and maybe won't. Why do I care, Scott?
You care because all your competition, everyone around you within a certain radius, is going to do the same thing. And
so I'm going to do it better, Scott.
And they might do it better. And they're going to do then is, if everybody looks the same to them, they're going to shop on price. Who has the cheapest price? Because if all you're saying is, I have RV sites for you, full hookups, boom, that's it. Okay, well, I'll look at who's got the best deal. What this does is it takes it beyond that. It's like, I'm going to cater to who you are. I'm going to create an environment and experience about what you want to do and what you're interested in. And it acknowledges that person and what their interests are. And it engages them at a much deeper level. I mean, we're going beyond just, the simple infrastructure to the whole idea of connecting with people. This is, you're going to establish a connection with people if you provide them with the services and the infrastructure that allows them to have the experiences they want in a much more enjoyable environment.
Or you just curate and talk to them about the things they offer. We're doing this for clients, by the way. And we're rolling out kind of a master plan to this to several of our clients, and then going to kind of trickle it down to the people. But like, we're going to provide the master plan for this stuff, but this is brand new. Like, this is stuff that all the clients, of course, want yesterday and think should be included for free in their website design package and all the things, right? It's not going to be. I'm sorry. Like, it just costs me too much staff and too much time and too many resources and too much of my effort to do all this stuff for the same price that you've been paying forever. And so we're going to come up with some kind of new package that's probably tied to the revenue we're driving at the parks to make this work. But like, this is where we're heading with this stuff. And it's not just people, it's AIs. It's the AIs working for the people. And even we were working on our AI LLM reports earlier, where the AI will go out and ask the questions like, what's the best luxury RV resort near X city that has bike rentals? And a lot of the LLMs or the AIs will respond and will say, I don't know, there's no information I have about this, because they're implicitly looking for information about bike rentals. And if it's not on your website in the format it should be, then the AI is not going to cite it because it's unsure and it doesn't want to give wrong answers. And some play it safe and some are willing to guess, and all of them are different, right? But you've got to rethink everything about a website. Absolutely everything about your website. And I think some of these websites end up being 50 to 100 pages of just pure content that LLMs can ingest and cite and know more things about. And that stuff's going to cost money. Unless you want us to take 12 years to get there, right? But if you want to be at the leading bleeding edge, but we know this is the answer, whether it's niche down like personas like this, whether it's breaking apart amenities, whether it's you giving more detailed information, like lots of different things, right? We're not going to give away all our secrets on the show, but it's super important. So you want to run through some of these and see?
Sure.
So let's start with the two things, and we didn't do this in order, but let's start with a couple things here. So we have fly fishing enthusiasts. Why they'll book you? They chase hatches and need flexible fish at dawn access to rivers, but dislike schlepping wet gear into hotels. Blow their minds with rod cleaning stations, breathable waiter lockers, river-conditioned chalkboard, freezer space for catch and keep species, guide meetups at dawn coffee. Okay, so again, like if you are not a resort who is by a river, you're out, right? Fine. No problem with that. You have other things. We've got a whole list. We're getting to you. Okay. But like you have to understand, and I think this is where we're going to go with these different things. One, if you're not by a river, you discount it. But if you are by a river, like what kind of people are coming? What kind of fishing can be done? Can it be fly fishing with a bobber? I'm just fucking with you, Scott. Can it be? Is it fly fishing? Is it? We'll call it regular fishing because I don't know what else it is. But like, what are they looking for? What types of species are in your river? How often are they going to fish? When are they going to fish? Is it going to be morning and evening? Is it going to be after it rains? Is it going to be right? Are they going to stand in the water or on the shore? Do they need a platform to do it from? Do they need boats to do it from? Do they need these things? Sound exhausting to research, but they're no longer exhausting to research. You can shortcut to the answer, and you don't even have to critical think. You can just get the answer from ChatGPT like I just did. I shortcut with the best of you. And then make a decision, right? Like either A, you want to say, I am on a river, I'm going to try to provide this stuff. I am on a river, I'm going to try to give advice about this stuff. I'm not on a river, but near a river, let me give advice on this stuff and the different places that you can go to get this stuff because I don't offer it and curate it, right? Or I'm not on a river and forget the fly fishing enthusiast. One of the four things, right?
Right. But you're at least going through that checklist. You're at least considering it. And that's what's important.
And think about these ways to advertise. Reach them. Sponsor Hatch Report emails. Post 30-second bug ID reels in hashtag #TroutBum Instagram. Partner with Orvis and local TU chapter for giveaway stays. What does TU mean, fisherman? Scott?
Trout Unlimited.
Trout Unlimited. Okay. This is stuff that, like, again, I go back and forth, right? Like, I think that there's for sure an onus on the owner themselves to understand their audience and niche down, especially in an era of AI. But I'm frankly sick and tired of these lazy marketing companies who don't do some of this stuff for people, right? Like we do. We aren't perfect at it. We're getting much better at it. Like we make mistakes all the time. But I'm really tired of some of the lazy marketers and the expectations that they set. It's great. It's great for me in some aspects because it's a low bar, but it's like, what are you doing with your day? And like Simon Sinek went on to talk about that in the video earlier, where he's like, all these lawyers and all these accountants and all these people are going to take advantage of the AI and they're going to do in 15 minutes what normally would took them 3 hours. You're still going to get a fucking bill for 3 hours or whatever the same price was that they were going to charge you for that 3 hours because it's better for them, right? So at some point that's going to flip. I don't know when that's going to be or how quick that's going to be, but like this kind of thought leadership is to me what a marketing agency should be doing for their clients. I don't know, agree or disagree?
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, because again, to me, this is the level it should be at. If you want, in my mind, to succeed in what's becoming a much more competitive market, this is the thinking that needs to go into it. Again, you're out there, you're targeting people not based on what they're going to show up to your campground in, but what they want to do, what they're interested in. I mean, you can look anywhere, and people will talk about experiential, camping or glamping. And I mean, this is part of it. This is it. This is experiences. That's what people want. They want to do things, and they have interests and hobbies. I spoke with someone a couple of weeks ago from an investment group, and their whole approach is they want in the outdoors category, and they want to find organizations they can invest in. Their minimum entry is $10 million, and they want it to be based on like hobbies and interests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know how to, but that's like going back to what I was talking about for my personal thing that I'm battling at the company, right? Like that's the whole thing. You want me to do an SEO report for you every week. Not only are you slowing down my ability to work for you and execute for you because I have to then justify something every week, you're also wanting me or my team to create a report for you.
Mm-hmm.
Which is then, and like you're not getting these things that are critical to you, that Scott Barr, who's way smarter than me, is telling you is important to you, that I'm saying is important to you from a marketing AI perspective, that you're just sitting there saying like, nope, I would rather have the report on the thing that mattered in 2016. So that's the existential question. Do you cut those clients loose? Do you just give them what they want? Anyway, I'm not saying we have to answer that or go back to that, but so Overlanders. Why they'll book with you? They value remote camps, yet occasionally crave showers, laundry, and Pelican case storage while restocking. Blow their minds with a drive-through gear wash bay. That sounds expensive.
Yeah.
Container workshops with torque wrench loaners. That might not be too bad. Map wall of local 2-track exit loops. Secure pellet stove lounge for route planning. Reach them with post-GPX taster trails on Gaia GPS community, short-form YouTube of your on-site recovery ramp, and collab with Overland Expo speakers. I'll do a couple of these. Off-road power sports cruise. Why they'll book you. Proximity to legal trailheads. Room for trailers. Nighttime wrenching space. Blow their minds with a 24-hour compressed air kiosk. That feels like it's not that hard to provide. They're at gas stations everywhere, right?
Right. I mean, that's something you could easily provide, I think. Short money, too.
And we don't have the consultant here. He's out bird watching, so we'll just assume everything costs $10 at a campground.
We're gonna just make shit up.
Yeah, we're just gonna totally spill containment pads. That just you just put a towel on the floor, right? That's super easy. Run TikTok clips of your mud shower booth. Facebook groups. I don't know if these are actually accurate. AI could have made stuff up. Razor Addiction and Muddy Mamas. Muddy Mama sounds like a cool Facebook group. Amateur astronomers and astrophotographers. So now we're getting into some new stuff. Why they'll book with you. Dark sky locations and AC power for tracking rigs they can't lug into the wilderness. Blow their minds with red light only zones. Permanent concrete telescope pads with 110 volt and Ethernet to cabins. Free loaner dew heaters and coffee bar open till 3 a.m. Reach them with cross-post your Bortle rating on cloudynights.com. Is that a real thing?
I think it might be. This is just to interject here, Brian, like I've talked to so many people on this whole dark sky stuff. Like this is really popular now. And if you're a campground and you live in the dark sky zone or adjacent to one, find these folks. This is a huge, people love this. This is growing right now in terms of interest.
And the ability for you to do this is different than it was when you started, 10, 20, 30 years ago, your campground. It's completely different. The coffee bar open till 3 a.m. is maybe not doable now from a staffing perspective, but in 5 years, for sure that thing is going to be doable with a little arm that just pours them espresso or something else. Hear my Yorkie barking in the background. You have to grab her. She won't stop barking unless you grab her. But like what robots offering your coffee shop, whatever else, right? All that kind of stuff. She wants to be played with her toy. This is the kind of crazy stuff that happens, Scott. So it's not just your dogs.
My dogs have finally stopped barking because Denise came in. I had my mic muted they barked for like a half hour straight.
So reach them, amateur astronomers and photographers, astrophotographers. Cross-post your Bortle rating on cloudynights.com. Host the live stream of meteor showers on Twitch. Court NASA's astronomy picture of the day winners. The other thing here that I'm thinking about as we focus on AI, right? We looked at all the things that Google's releasing, that Google's changing, where Google is going to become more than an information engine. It's going to become an intelligence engine. I think there's bad omen signs for cloudynights.com, whatever that is. Maybe not. Maybe I'm completely off base and wrong, right? But I think the ability for you, if you have something that's truly valuable and not a gimmick, if you truly are a dark sky campground, if you are thinking about your marketing and how do I create content that resonates with those people, to tell them and show them what I do offer is directly related and beneficial to them and valuable to them, right? I think in a future where AI is going, that actually makes it much easier for a campground owner to reach these individual niches. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And all you have to do is put it up there. It's like you put it up there and you'll get found. That's how I feel. It's going to be really soon.
Well, it's not that easy, Scott. I need a job, okay?
Well, no, that's where
you put it up
hire
and be
Brian
found.
to do this is like, because you have to put it all together and you have to use the right verbiage and you have to like position yourself properly. But yeah, I have a tendency to do that where I kind of will be, oh, it's simple. Just
It was a good recovery. I have the same thing. By the way, this is my second glass of whiskey. I have not actually eaten anything in 25 hours.
Mm.
So should be fun here by the time we get to the end of the show. But all right, birding big year competitors. Why they'll book you? Need quick dawn access to multiple eBird hotspots in one base camp? Blow their minds. Sunrise grab-and-go vegan breakfasts, printed seasonal target species cards, silent mode golf carts, and blinds built near wetlands. So again, some of this stuff, right? Like, why have the gas guzzler golf cart? Generally speaking, a silent mode golf cart is not just good for birders. It's good for everyone on your campground, right? Number one.
Yep.
If you're going to offer golf carts, not necessarily saying you have to or you should. That's specific. Grab and go vegan breakfasts. Like this is probably easier than you think, unless you're in a really rural area. To like, if you're just outside of a city, for sure, 10, 30 minutes, right? You could probably get some kind of a local bakery or sandwich shop to get those wrapped things that they have ready to go, right? And then not only do you have breakfast that you could sell to everybody, but you have breakfast you can sell to vegans.
Right.
So,
yep. You know, by the way, we can actually interject a real world example with our missing co-host, and that is where Greg went to for his birding quest is in the Gaylord, Michigan area, and it's nearby.
I've been to Gaylord. Yeah, I've been to Gaylord. I used to work for the Gaylord KOA.
Yep, and there's an Audubon center there that does birding expeditions. I don't know if you call them that.
Mm-hmm.
To see this Kirtland's warbler bird, and so the Audubon sets them up, and they do them in conjunction with the Hartwick Pines State Park, and so again, it's a huge destination for birders. And if you're a campground in that area, this group, they are going to be flocking to that area, to use a bird term, to see these things, because it's like I don't know that much about it. I think it's one of those lifeless birds that people want to see. So it's a real example, and you can look that up. If you do a search, you can on this, you'll find out. You use AI to do it, please.
Yeah, and we only responded to reviews for the Gaylord KOA, but they for sure were not taking advantage of this. I guarantee.
Yeah, right, and there it is. It's right there. It's literally on your doorstep.
Mm-hmm.
This group of people that you could cater to and do a whole package for, and draw them away from everybody else by offering up this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't. Anyway. You got to put some thought into that stuff. So weekly eBird hotspot species tick list on X. giveaways inside ABA podcast. I'm sure Greg knows what that is. All birds. What do you think that means?
American Birding Association.
Well, that's probably a more educated guess, but okay, whatever. Instagram reels of on-property lifer alerts. Van life digital nomads. Why they'll book you? Crave reliable fiber and parcel lockers without losing the Instagram-worthy backdrop. Blow their minds with shared Zoom cabanas with acoustic panels, height-adjustable desks that roll outdoors, USB-C repair vending machine. USB-C repair vending machine. Like repairing USB-C devices? I don't know. Anyway, it's a thing, apparently. Nomad breakfast bar barter board. Reach them, partner with van conversion influencers for takeover weeks, syndicate Starlink speed tests on our van dwellers. Okay. Who did I disappear again? Now I'm back.
What happened?
I don't know. Like the whole computer is connected via Ethernet, and I have like 3 gigs of internet coming into this house. So it must be like a loose cable or something that's happening. It's only been happening the last 2 weeks. So anyway. Rock climbing craggers. Why they'll book you. Closest legal overnight spot to the crag plus ability to dry ropes. Blow their minds. Hang dry barn with dehumidifier. Campus board and spray wall. Topo mural with new rope pins. Chalk-proof showers. What's a chalk-proof shower?
I don't know.
Some of the stuff, like I feel like I just admitted, like second whiskey glass, haven't eaten in 25 hours, probably gonna maybe be a little bit buzzed by the end of the show. I don't know, but like going through this whole like different niche thing and pronouncing words I've never heard before probably is not going to help my cause. I feel like, but I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm misspelling something, but what is a chalk-proof shower? I want to ask, but like, I also just want to get to the list.
I mean, the rock climbers use chalk. They have chalk bags and stuff. So they're going to come back and be covered in chalk, their hands and stuff.
But why would a shower need to be chalk-proof? Wouldn't it just rinse?
I don't know. Maybe the chalk clogs the drains. I'm guessing. I have no idea.
That's possible. That's possible. Good thing we're professionals here and we know what we're talking about. Reach them. Drop mini beta videos on Mountain Project. Sponsor a route setting comp collab with Access Fund Trail Days. Gravel cyclists. Why they'll book you. Overnight before or after a 100-mile Fondo routes and training blocks. Blow their minds. Bike wash stand. Chain lube station. Recovery staple vending. Electrolytes. Kamoy cream. Cold plunge stock tank, live Strava segment leaderboard in the lobby. Again, if you're a really niche park close to like Gaylord and bird watching or near a river for trout fishing or something like that, right? There's value to this, but there are takeaways from all these individual things as you listen to this on the podcast or you hear this in the video that you can put that are good for multiple types of these different niches. Niches.
Both are correct. Both pronunciations are correct. I looked it up.
One day we're going to figure out what the actual, like the definition of glamping. When we figure that out, will be the day we figure out how to pronounce niche right. Or
both.
niche, right?
I looked it up on dictionary.com. Both pronunciations are correct.
Well, that's a cop out.
But it's true.
That's
it's
like everybody gets a participation trophy. We can't have that if we want to encourage critical thinking, Scott.
It's like, what's your mother's sister? What do you call her?
Aunt?
Right. But in some places they call her aunt. Both are correct.
No, somebody's wrong. Somebody has to be wrong.
I say aunt.
I have to figure out which one is right, and I have to win. This is a competition.
In the Midwest, we say aunt, and that's where I come down on it. But a lot of places in the Northeast, they say aunt, and I looked it up one day because I told a bunch of people they were wrong.
Yeah, they are wrong.
So
it's not our fault they were raised with bad parents who told them to pronunciate things wrong. See, I just said pronunciate. That's not even a thing, right? Pronounce? Is pronunciate a word?
No, but
yeah.
Just blow past it. Just keep moving.
It is now. It's in mydictionary.com. Okay, gravel cyclists. Why they'll book you. Overnight before or after, we already read that. Fondo routes and training blocks. Bike wash station, so chain lube station, recovery staple vending. Feature routes in ride with GPS collections, reels of sunrise, dust clouds, affiliate with small batch bib short brands. Again, little things, right? That you're not going to go out of your way to do this necessarily unless you've identified that there's a big segment of things nearby for you, but you don't know the big segment you're missing, like Gaylord KOA didn't know. Maybe they're doing it now, to be clear, right? This is 2013 or 14, to be clear, when we work with them. And we only answered their reviews. We didn't do anything else from marketing. But so maybe they're doing it now, but you don't know what you don't know until you start researching and analyzing and trying to figure out who your audience is and who these niche people are for your park, right?
Absolutely. And as you mentioned a couple minutes ago, the idea that there's a lot of crossover in here. I mean, for example, just one thing, like a power washer at some point, a power washing station would hit a bunch of these groups. It's like that thing alone would is something that several of these groups would want.
So here's my question. Should we try to blaze through this in an effort to, at the end, have key takeaways of like, what are the top things you should do and ask some follow-up questions? Or should we take it slow and get through some of these and then do it again next week and explore more?
I think we should go through it and figure out at the end. I'm kind of excited to get to the end of the roll up.
All right. So you're saying everything I'm doing is boring. Thank you.
That was doing some critical thinking there, Brian.
Good job. Remote team offsites. Why they'll book you. Hybrid companies need unplugged ideation plus high bandwidth for sprint demos. You can pause this if you're on the YouTube video and you can just kind of look at it. Dog agility and sporting teams. Why they'll book you. Need open turf, pet-friendly lodging, and low-stress travel for dogs. Disc golf tournament circuit. Why they'll book you. On-property 18-hole course. Avoids shuttle logistics. Homeschool and road school families. They blend travel with curriculum and need reliable Wi-Fi during quiet hours. Historical reenactors. Why they'll book you. Need period-appropriate backdrops, yet enjoy flush toilets off stage.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought that so funny, but it's kind of like, okay. Why do reenactors need flush toilets more than anyone else? I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah, like we want to put ourselves in you want to fight the Civil War battle reenactment, right? But you still want to go in a flush toilet. It makes sense to me. Cosplay and fandom camp cons. Why they'll book you. Comic-Con prices are steep and Outdoor Con enables new photo backdrops. So this is like San Diego, for example, has a big Comic-Con, right?
Yep.
Foraging and wild food gatherers. They will need licensing base and kitchen space to process finds. Craft beer trail tourists want to hit multiple tiny breweries without driving back to the city. That's me. Micro wedding and elopement cruise. Couples want nature vows plus guest lodging in one invoice. Drone racing and FPV pilots need open obstacle space, power, and high contrast features. Amateur radio field day operators. Annual 24-hour emergency comm test needs low noise floor and space for antennas.
And some of these we're getting down in the weeds on some of these.
Yeah. But why not? Like, again, if you're in an environment where like you need to fill 2 or 3 more sites or 5 sites, or heck, we're going into maybe a recession, like these people add up. Like pennies equate to nickels, equate to dimes, equate to quarters, equate to dollars, right? And we're all chasing dollars. Dark sky eclipse chasers. We already did that already, but
that dovetails with that earlier.
Hot air balloon crew and spectators. Launch fields at dawn and propane trucks need overnight base. Trail running clubs. Weekend training camps demand access to single track and healthy carbs. Metal detecting hobbyists. They relish permissions to sweep private land legally. Geocaching mega event participants need dense cache area and event HQ. SUP and pack raft paddlers. Inflatable boats pack into RVs. They seek multi-water body variety. Fly-in pilots with STOL aircraft. Short takeoff planes require grass strip plus camping comfort. Interesting. I mean, I guess people have some land they haven't developed or unused, right?
That's here in Maine. There's a lot of that. The fly-in folks.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Like that would be a really cool glamping experience to curate from a fly-in. Like they had that up in I'm not rich enough to afford it because I'm not a consultant like you are, Scott. But they had a fly-in grizzly bear tour where you could stay like 5 days, 7 nights. They would take you out on tours to explore the wilderness. It was like $5,000 a night or something.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and they have them all over in BC for grizzly bear tours or wildlife tours or whatever. But like you just go out and you fly, like you go to an airport and then you get in a tiny little like plane that's like a 4 or 8 seater and you fly like 2 hours into the wilderness. Like it's crazy. It's beautiful. I'm sure it's worth it. I've never been on one. Maybe one day I'll make enough money to do that, but we'll see. But those kinds of things, like I wonder that short takeoff, obviously it would depending on your landing and your land and where you are and what unique benefits you have and what feature set you build out. But there's plenty of market for that stuff if you can do it correctly and you have a good location. Mountain bike enduro racers, stage racing training demands lifts, shuttles, and wrench space. So again, we've seen wrench space before, right?
Yep.
Wild
Yep.
swimming and cold plunge groups. Ice bath culture seeks clean water bodies and saunas nearby. We've heard somebody else had a cold plunge after they came back from it. There was a recommendation up there for it.
Yep. I remember that too.
Health and biohacking retreaters that want quantified self in nature, not sterile labs. Plain. I want to say plain, but I feel like it's something different. Plain air artist workshops. While the book you need varied vistas, natural sunlight, and crit space. Yoga and sound bath facilitators, outdoor acoustics, and aura of escape, plus group lodging margins. Amateur mycologists, why they'll book you. Fungi fanatics crave infield study plots and lab basics. Vintage camper rally goers, they love parading polished Shastas and Airstreams. Classic car caravan clubs need level pads and secure display for cruise-ins. Adaptive adventurers, disabled outdoor athletes. Inclusive design is rare in the backcountry, for sure it is. Wildlife photographers in residency need week-long immersion near blinds with safe gear storage. Kiteboarders and windsurfers, on-property lake or coastal bay plus rigging lawn. Ice climbers for winter operations. There you go. We were talking about winter camping before.
Yep.
They want warmth post-freeze and early start to ice falls. You want to extend your season? Sled dog mushers. There's another one. Dry land training. Need miles of runnable trails and canine-centric services. Adventure motorcyclists or moto campers. End of trail respite with hot showers and chain lube. Gem and fossil hunters. They roam mining claims and quarries and need wash stations. Traditional archery and bow hunting camps need ranges and 3D target loops while scouting. Maker and DIY build camps, tiny house and van build. Shared tools, community feedback, and code compliant overnight. Survival and bushcraft students, they desire primitive skill instruction, yet like clean showers after 3 days.
That's a good group, by the way, to hook up with your other guests. Stuff like that. 'Cause people are really that's kind of
Interested in learning that stuff?
interest.
Did I tell you that story about the Nashville, was it North KOA? Did I tell you that story ever?
I don't think so.
So when we started, I say we, but it was really me. With my ex-girlfriend, but when we were starting the company, when I was starting the company, whatever, and she was just traveling with me, but we went to the Nashville, I want to say it was North KOA. Might have been Nashville West. Anyway, it's changed owners so many times. But anyway, it was one of the campgrounds around the outskirts of Nashville. And we went there and they had, maybe it was Natural Bridge KOA. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. We went there and they had this, a family owned it, and they had this guy who was in their family and worked with them. And by the entrance to the campground, there was this old stone cooking like oven, right? Like super old, built out of stones in the middle of the grass. I think it was it was built a long time ago. I don't think they built it. It was just there on land when they bought it. And so this guy was really into survival in their family, and he would teach survival courses, like right out there by that stone cooking thing, like not just how to cook, but how to survive and do all that kind of stuff. And that kind of stuff was just really interesting to me, the kind of value that you can provide to someone to learn things.
Yep.
And there's so many people who know things. Like I know AI, Scott knows consulting, somebody else knows survival, which is a way more valuable skill than consulting or marketing. But like there are these people who you probably already know, you just don't know that you know them. And who would love for the chance to teach people that kind of stuff. Spiritual silent retreats need silence with light structure, far from city hum. Board game and tabletop gaming camps want marathon campaign weekends without the hotel costs. Microbrewery collaboration requests. Breweries cook up collab ideas off-site. Language immersion campouts. Full contact language practice benefits from isolation. Permaculture and regenerative ag apprentices. I feel like we're stretching now. Seek hands-on soil learning and low-cost seasonal housing. Is there? Yeah, there's only 50. Okay. Citizen science bio blitz teams. 24-hour species count events need central lodging. All right. So pick 3 to 5. All right. So let's say I am a campground in Michigan. Like, this is kind of overwhelming. No idea where to start. What are the top 10 things from all of the above with the broadest appeal I should do, and which groups would they appeal to? How to market them, websites, etc. Let's see what that says. Because there are common themes, right? And the thing is you can add the thing that's sticking out in my head right now is the cold plunge tub for the 2 things, but you can add whatever this thing is going to say. You still need to market it differently to the different groups. You can't just add it and be like, oh, they'll just figure out that that's good for them. Correct. Add the cold plunge tub and market it to the different groups with different paragraphs, different pages, different blog posts, different whatever. Facebook ads, social media posts, whatever you need to do. But you can't just assume I'm just going to hit all these groups and these groups will come. You have to do your advertising, right? That was your cue to fill the dead air gap, Scott.
Oh, okay. Sorry. No,
extremely insightful.
It's like, right, connecting the amenity to the activity, whatever it is. Again, whether it's the ice bath or pressure washing, you associate it with the verbiage for off-roaders, mountain bikers, or anyone wanting to clean their stuff. The same with the gear bench. That I think that came up a couple times.
All right, here's what we got. 10 bang-for-your-buck upgrades that work in Michigan's lakes and wood settings and resonate with multiple niche tribes all at once. Each item is followed by why it punches above its weight, broad appeal plus sense of place, primary tribes it wins pulled from the 50-segment list, how to market it, channels, hashtags, forums, and partner orgs. The idea is to build 2 or 3 per year. Every edition boosts 4+ guest segments, snowballing occupancy and word of mouth. Lake and River Launch Hub. Why it works. Michigan is ringed by inland lakes and Great Lakes shoreline. Paddle sports, fishing, and cold plunge culture are booming. Paddlers stay longer when shuttles. Paddlers stay longer when... Oh, there's a comma there. I read that wrong. Paddlers stay longer when shuttles, rentals ups, kayaks, and a fish cleaning table are on site. Outdoor Rec already injects $1.15 billion into just 10 Northwest Michigan counties. Tribes served are the SUP and pack raft paddlers, fly fishers, wild swimming clubs, drone pilots, shoreline shots, and wellness biohackers. Marketing play. Embed your launch routes on Strava and ride with GPS. Post sunrise reels tagged with Pure Michigan Paddle on TikTok and Instagram. List shuttle times in Our Michigan Kayaking on Reddit and the Michigan Paddle Sports Facebook group, and offer collab weekends with local outfitters they push to their email lists. Fair?
Yeah. Yep.
By the way, we need to do one more state after this. So we need something that's completely different than Michigan. So think about that. It'll be your choice. Dark sky viewing deck and red light zone. Why it works. Michigan boasts 3 certified international dark sky parks, Headlands, Kewanee, and Lawless, and a culture of aurora chasing. A simple elevated deck with 110-volt outlets and a red rope lights draws astrophotographers most campgrounds ignore. Tribes served, amateur astronomers, eclipse chasers. October 2024's Comet A3 buzz. Wildlife photographers, homeschool families logging constellation labs. Marketing play, publish your Bortle rating on cloudynights.com. Host Astro 101 live streams from the deck. Pitch Michigan.org's Dark Sky PR team for inclusion in their stargazing roundups. And run meta ads to interest astrophotography plus Michigan. Agree?
Yep.
Fiber Speed, Cowork Cabana, Northwoods Gigabit. Why it works. Remote work tourists hunt for reliable Wi-Fi and scenic spots. Michigan already lures them with four-season recreation. A ventilated shed with height-adjustable desks, AC, and parcel lockers turns one RV pad into a margin machine. Tribe served, van life digital nomads, remote team off-sites, road school families, and biohack retreats. They need data uploads. And then you can see the marketing things there. Covered Wrench and Gear Wash Bay, why it works.
There it is. Yep.
One 40-foot shipping container with LED lighting, power outlets, pressure washer, and tool wall serves muddy bikes, trout nets, and overlander rigs. Fair. Tribe served, gravel cyclists, overlanders, ADV moto campers, disc golfers, disc dye station, and fly fishers. Waiter rinse. That's a bigger market than I thought. So
I think that's a solid thing. I mean, obviously you can make your station any way you want. It could be completely out, open air or whatever, but that hits some really, I think, sizable groups too.
Yeah, short YouTube clips, 90-second post-ride wash at camp. In your location on iOverlander and Adventure Rider forums. Share before and after bike photos in our Michigan cycling gravel threads and partner with local shop for pop-up tune days. Multi-use event lawn and modular LED grid power. A flat 3/4 acre field with buried power taps morphs from a drone racetrack to micro wedding venue to outdoor board gaming con. That's not a bad idea. High yield with little permanent build. That's not a terrible idea. Tribe served, drone racing pilots, cosplay camp cons, disc golf tourneys, micro wedding parties, and remote team retreats. That's a pretty big subset of people, right? I mean, you have to run the power, right?
Yep.
But other than that, you could run the power. Like you could honestly make them short pedestals or something. And then in the future, expand them into RV sites if you wanted to. So if you're waiting for the capital to expand the empty lot that you purchased next door with 300 RV sites that all cost, I don't know what they do, 20, 30,000 a piece.
Yep.
Like now you can have a middle ground and you can make money off that land while you wait.
Yep. Yeah. Functional space.
Bike wash and trailhead info kiosk. Gravel is Michigan's fastest growing riding niche. See more, MORE, 1,100 mile route. Install a wash stand, floor pump, and Strava segment leaderboard. Tribe served, gravel and MTB racers, trail runners for route maps, overlanders doing out and back loops. Dog agility and wash zone. 60+% of RV owners travel with pets. Michigan's beach towns drive canine travel traffic. Simple fenced lanes, A-frame, and warm water dog wash equal instant loyalty. Tribe served or dog agility teams, sled dog off-season trainers, and every pet-owning family. There you go.
That last one, and it's huge. It's a lot. It's at least 60%.
So cross-post facility tour to AKC Agility Facebook groups. Sorry to the AKC Agility Facebook groups are about to get spammed. Sponsor dog-friendly Michigan Instagram micro-influencers. List on Bring Fido and Go Pet Friendly and offer stay plus trial entry weekend packages with nearby agility clubs. Sauna and cold plunge barrel. Why it works. Nordic culture pairs perfectly with Great Lakes winters. Health tourists crave recovery rituals. A wood-fired barrel sauna plus 100-gallon stock tank plunge is high impact, low cost. Universal accessibility upgrades. ADA plus adventure. Why it works. Inclusive docks, track chair rentals, and chair height fire rings. Broaden your TAM and win grants. Pictured Rocks accessibility investments are called out by NPS as visitor demand rises. Tribe served are adaptive adventurers, multi-sport families, micro weddings, grandparents, homeschool groups, field trip compliant. Did that just assume that grandparents are all needing of wheelchairs and chair height fire rings?
I think so. Ageism right there.
That's very stereotypical. Marketing play, list and wheel the world and accessible go. Instagram collab with adaptive athletes. Apply for Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grants. They love ADA projects. Pitch local TV, first fully accessible campground in county. And finally, flexible gear locker wall and parcel hub. Weather-sealed code lock lockers sized for camera Pelican cases or fly fishing rods solve security for everyone and create rental upsell, $5 a night. Tribe served astrophotogs, wildlife shooters, overlanders, remote workers, Amazon parcels, drone racers. Okay.
That last one, number 10, just so everybody knows, we've actually done some research on this, and this is something that people really like the idea of. Is
The gear locker wall, or
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. The gear locker is big. People love that idea.
So how to roll it out? I'll pause on that for a second if you want to just read it if you're on the YouTube video.
Okay.
What else do we want to ask? We only got about 5 minutes left. I don't think we have time to do another state, so that's why I'm
Probably not. But
yeah.
No, this was cool. Actually, I kind of liked that because, it demonstrated the crossover, like you were talking about earlier, the crossover of like one of these amenities, hits multiple groups, but again, importantly, is to tie that, whether it's gear washing or whatever to the different groups, and make sure it's mentioned for each of those, and not just a generic amenity. Like, and this probably goes for a lot of stuff when people are thinking about their marketing, to, instead of just doing a laundry list of what you have as an amenity, think about the groups of people that will be attracted to that amenity, whatever amenities you have on site.
So we'll end with this. I just want to attract our viewers. They are a much bigger group. Why is this even worth my time? I think you're full of shit, is what I just said to AI. I really, really, really feel like there's something here for Burnout Bob. We'll have to bring him back next week, but we don't have time from today. The RV, I got the RV
forecast. Look at that.
I got the RV industry. I didn't get them. I encouraged them to share the numbers that were already public for the retail shipments. And they said they were down 14% year over year.
Yep.
In March in the US, and down 10% year over year in Canada, I think, were the numbers.
Yep. That sounds about right.
Look, I hear you. Michigan already has more than 900 commercial campgrounds, and every single one of them is chasing RVers. If all you do is say, hey, we have full hookup sites, you're swimming in the same red ocean as everyone else. A few data points show why it pays to differentiate inside the RV crowd instead of treating them as one undivided mass. What a great close to the show. Supply keeps climbing. RVIA forecasts wholesale shipments to rebound to roughly 350,000 units in 2025 after 2 soft years. That means tens of thousands of new rigs and new parks flooding the market. It doesn't really mean that. That's shipments, not
You can
sales.
get rid of that. Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, AI. Guest expectations are rising even faster. But if AI can make that mistake, you can see why owners can make that mistake, by the way. Guest expectations are rising even faster. In 2024, private parks were 29% more likely to add pickleball courts than any other amenity, including pools and dog parks. Why? Because the easier boxes, Wi-Fi cable, and concrete pads are already table stakes. Niche hooks plug the midweek and shoulder season gap. CampSpot's revenue team notes that special interest weekends and amenities are the single cheapest lever to lift occupancy outside of July or August. So the point isn't to forget mainstream RVers, it's to give them new stories to tell and reasons to book Tuesday to Thursday, while also winning specialized subgroups who pay premium rates and create viral content.
I think that's really good advice, because
I know, we don't even need to host the podcast anymore. We can just have AI do it for us.
Right, exactly. No, but the idea of filling those midweek groups, it just fits with this whole approach to finding these special interest groups, these people. I don't even want to call them special interest. It's more people who have interests in these areas, interests and hobbies, things they want to do, the recreation, all that. It's like it's right there. It's right there for the picking.
5 low-risk upgrades that still thrill the regular RVer. Robust, measurable Wi-Fi. 76% of private parks already offer it. Demand only goes up as 29% of campers work while traveling. You might dispute that, but we don't have time, Scott. Sorry.
That's okay.
Dog park plus warm water wash, gear wash, and wrench bay, pickleball, multi-sport court, red light, dark sky deck. Why these 5 first? They're modular. Each can be built or upgraded in off-season without shutting sites. They overlap. The wash bay also services fishing nets. The deck doubles as a yoga platform at sunrise. They create content. Guests film themselves using the amenities. You get free marketing assets. Real-world payoff examples. Luxury parks that rise to the top of USA Today's 10 best. We were talking about this the other day. Does anyone read USA Today? I don't think they do. I think the only people that read USA Today are the people who are like, vote for me for the 10 best lists of the campground. And those people who click that link are the only readers of USA Today the whole year. Prove me wrong. Like I used to read it all the time. It used to come to my doorstep, right? Like, where are these people who read all this stuff now?
Hotels for free all the time too.
That's true. But like, how many people actually read them?
I don't think very many.
Right. So I'm not saying it's not an honor. It's an honor. There's people who read it, but I don't know. We should ask Chet. On differentiated amenities, like I disappeared again. What are you doing to me, Jessica?
All I'm seeing is my huge head. There we go.
There we go. Yeah. Like I keep popping in and out. One day I'll just stay gone and then nobody will realize where I went. All lean on differentiated amenities, multi-tier pools, chef demos, big kid playgrounds. They're the ones pulling nightly ADR north of 125 and even in shoulder season. Campgrounds that added pickleball reported up to 15% longer average stays during pilot weekends, according to DIRT operator interviews. Marketing playbook that keeps it simple. Claim and optimize every free OTA-style listing. Campendium, Camp Flare. What is Camp Flare? Have you heard of that?
No.
Recreation.gov partner portal. Good photos of amenities, not just sites. Lift click-through rate 18% on most portals. That's an interesting anecdote. One quarterly theme weekend tied to an amenity, e.g. fall colors and pickleball round robin. Dog day spring splash. Promoted only via local Facebook groups and a $100 boosted post radius targeted at 150 miles. Email your past guest list a plain text "What's new for 2025" note with a single call to action. Book now for the new deck, dog park, or court. Cost a few grand to install, a couple hundred a quarter to advertise. Return higher ADR, fuller shoulder seasons, and crucially reviews that mention something specific instead of the generic nice park. Bottom line, you don't have to chase every micro tribe I listed earlier, but in a market where hundreds of thousands of new RVs were sold 2 years ago, I'll insert that, and dozens of new parks are coming online, the campgrounds that win are the ones that give travelers algorithms working on behalf of their travelers. This is where it's going, people. A clear, memorable hook. Invest once in amenities that normal RVers use every day, but design them so niche enthusiasts can't wait to film them. That's how you outpunch parks that only talk about concrete pads, 50 amp service. And there was our shortcut to the ending of our podcast. We learned nothing along the way, but we got you to the end anyway.
It took us a bit to get there, but we got there, and that's what it's all about.
It was the journey, wasn't it?
It was yeah.
It was the struggling with how much to read of each paragraph and finally realizing that Scott just wanted to get to the end. But we did it.
I like how it rounded up there, that with the nice summary and us babbling about it throughout, but there it kind of brought it all home for us.
I'm a little disappointed that I'm actually not at Buzzed at all.
Yeah. Just wait till you got to stand up. Wait till you stand up.
Try it.
Don't do it on film. Don't do it on film.
Okay. All right. Final thoughts? Anything you want to cover?
No, you know what? I liked it. I liked how we kind of rounded it up, because I feel like it was pretty clear. And I hope if anyone has questions, they reach out, especially to you because you're the marketing guy. But I kind of liked how that got summed up, and reinforced the points that you and I had been making the whole show. Is this is an opportunity, and it's how you should be marketing, and that's really again, the question of we just want RVers. It's like, no, you so does everybody else. Differentiate yourself. This is how to do it.
All right. Thanks for watching another episode of Outwired. We'll see you next week, guys. Peace.
Peace out. Take care. Bye-bye.